we have to go into some of these games that happened during the week. If you watched the Tuesday show, you saw my guy over here start to break down some of the schedule of games that was going on from Tuesday night all the way to last night. And, I mean, it was a number of games. There was a lot of good ones, man. Look, let's jump into it. Tuesday night, Middle Tennessee State gets their first conference win, beating Louisiana Tech 31-23. Velito throws 2 interceptions, also runs for another one. Both these teams have been having struggling seasons. Both of them are on the wrong side of the losing, but of the record. But it's good to see, especially in conference play, you get those conference wins together, and you'll go bowling at the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely. All it takes is winning half your games to get to a bowl. Like we said, these teams are struggling to kind of get there, but Middle Tennessee State's gonna have to ramble off a few games here. They're 2-5, so it's gonna be a little bit tougher. They can only lose one more the rest of the way, but Louisiana Tech, they still hold the cards in their hands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Moving on down the list, Virginia team Liberty remains undefeated, beating 4-1 Jacksonville State. And look, this thing was tied at 10 at the half. Liberty goes up 17-3, but then they get those 14 points late in the game that just separates themselves. We've started to talk about Liberty. Jacksonville State, as we know how well they played. Liberty started getting this conference play. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to beat a Georgia, but can we start to say teams need to be watching out for Liberty? Could they be the UTSA of this year?
Yeah, I can get behind that because, I mean, it's not like they're playing slouches. Jacksonville State's been a very good team this year, beat them pretty soundly. Sam Houston, FIU, okay. Buffalo's decent. Bowling Green, not great, but like this is a team that, in my opinion, maybe not quite ranked based on their schedule, but should be just outside those rankings at 6-0 right now. That's a very impressive record right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to them for continuing to get it done. I love that, you know, a lot of people that are especially not from Virginia haven't really heard as much about Liberty. Me being around this area, I've traveled up and down that road and been to Liberty multiple times, but couple years ago, a lot of you guys know, Malik Willis really kind of started putting Liberty on the map. Last year, they had some guys, and I just love that the success is continuing, so they're not just this random team. Like, there's somebody we're watching out for, and I like that.
Well, another thing to think about there is their coach last year, Hugh Freeze, is gone. This is year one with a new coach, Hugh Freeze being at Auburn now. So for a new coach to come in and be 6-0, that's impressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Got some people over here in the comments. Matt Patton says, Cooper DeJean, does Cooper DeJean thinks today in Iowa beats Wisconsin 21-14. Ooh,
I'm excited for that game today. That's going to be a fun. I like
that one. I think the winner of that one might be the winner of that side of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You know, we shall definitely see. Going on the Tuesday games, got to talk about this, man. Coastal Carolina, App State. I've talked in volumes about App State and how they, man, they're on that cusp. We saw what they did to they put up 40 in the fourth against North Carolina a year ago. Look, this game came down to it. App State's defense held Coastal Carolina right towards the end. It's 24-24 in the ensuing play. They go deep, take it down the field, and you're like, oh my goodness, here it goes. App State's about to take this game. The wide receiver trying to get a couple extra yards, fumbles the ball.
Yeah.
Coastal gets it back and ends up getting down there and getting the field goal. Oh, App State, man. That's a crushing loss, Alex.
Yeah, that blows for them. And I mean, we're talking about these teams trying to get that bowl eligibility. They're both sitting at 3-3 now. So there's a lot on the table left for both of them. Both these quarterbacks played well. I mean, we've got Grayson McCall, who we've talked about quite a bit over the last couple of years here. Yep. But Aguilar for App State also played well. Joey Aguilar, that is. They both threw over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. They were both solid guys. Oh, yeah. So Yeah, it was, and like Anthony says here, Coastal Carolina. Well, both these teams have had a pretty big fall off this year, so
Yes.
this was a get right game for both of them, and it went in Coastal's favor.
Oh, yeah. And then when you look at a game like this on the schedule, and especially that it's on a Tuesday night, woo, you're going to have a good Tuesday night because, like you said, they're both right level with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that know, a couple years ago, Grayson McCall gets on the scene as BYU loses to Coastal Carolina that year that he went up toe-to-toe with Zach Wilson. You know, and everybody was like, oh, man, look at Grayson. And like you said, we've talked about him at length over the last couple of years. But yeah, it looks like it has fallen off. But hey, you got players that have gone into the pros. You got, transfers, younger guys, different coaches. A lot of things have changed. So, hey, they're doing what they can. But App State, that's one where I'm like, ooh, I had high hopes for y'all.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we saw how they were toe to toe with you guys again. They've played well in a lot of games. It's just they haven't been able to close out games like this, and that's what's killed them.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the Wednesday games, Texas El Paso gets its second win, taking out FIU 27-14. McConnell throws 2 interceptions, and the UTEP defense has 2 takeaways in the fourth quarter to get this W, man. Good for UTEP, man, because it wasn't looking pretty starting 1-5 this year.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, we talked earlier, they played Liberty there, but I mean, you look at their schedule the rest of the way, they can still make that run at the bowl game. They got New Mexico State coming to them. They go to Sam Houston, who still hasn't won a game yet. Host Western Kentucky, go to Middle Tennessee State, and then they haven't played Liberty yet. They host Liberty to end the season.
Ooh,
so that's
circle that.
It's a winnable schedule the rest of the way, maybe outside of Liberty, but that's a winnable schedule the rest of the way to get bowl eligibility.
Oh yeah, circle that one, ladies and gentlemen, because you just don't know what's going to happen. We mentioned UTSA last year. They go 9-10-0, and then they get beaten like the last game of the regular season. So that could very much be that. Real quick, I do want to shout out. I talked about the quarterback, Cade McDonald, who had 262 yards and 2 TDs. But, I got to shout out to Kelly Akaharia. Forgive me if I'm butchering her name. AKHARAIYI. 8 catches, 223 yards, and 2 scores in his first collegiate start. I mean, we talked about another guy we're going to mention, Fafita, and how he got one of his first starts. These guys right now, they're just saying, look, just give me an opportunity. And they're showing out. I love that. Yeah,
it's always great to see these young guys get in there and show out right away, because it's guys that, I mean, you're getting your first start now. You've been fighting for 3 months to try and get in there and get your shot, and they give it to you, and then you reward them by balling out. I always love seeing that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So definitely shout out to him. Moving on that Wednesday slate, the New Mexico State Cowboys beat Sam Houston State 27-13. Hey, a couple years ago I talked about it. I talked about it last year. The quarterback for New Mexico State, Diego Pavia, he just continues to impress me. It's almost 300 yards in this game, 2 TDs, but also rushed for over 100 in the touchdown. Alex, man, people need to start watching Diego Pavia, even though he's over at New Mexico State.
He's just, like you said, he's just been getting better and better every year. It'll be interesting to see. He's only a junior. I'm assuming, being at New Mexico State, he'll probably come back. Yeah. Or, I mean, you never know. Maybe he transfers somewhere else. Yeah. With the transfer portal and everything now. He's playing well, so he might get some looks from these bigger schools, but he continues to impress. Week in and week out, he rarely has a bad game, and it's just that steady incline, which is all you want to see from these guys.
Right. And I think what you said was key, that he rarely has a bad game, because if you know New Mexico State, this is not a perennial power, ladies and gentlemen. Matter of fact, most times they're the team that other teams will schedule when they want to get that W.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, hey, shout out to this guy, man. over 1,600 yards, 14 TDs, and only 5 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we're not going to talk about New Mexico State going to the daggone, CFP or anything like that. But we are going to talk about good football, man. And he's got New Mexico State at 4-3. 2 more wins, you're bowl eligible.
Yeah. And I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of it. But it's been a long, long time since we're sitting at week 7 and New Mexico State has a winning record. It's been a while. So
yeah.
I really like what they're doing with him right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's hopefully they can keep this thing going. We got to move on to the Friday games, in a game that a lot of people might have slept on, but when you look at this, and Alex, I know you know what this kind of game is. Tulane and Memphis. Memphis, man, they came out this thing guns a-blazing, went up 21-10, and incidentally, that's the part where I started watching, and then all of a sudden, it's like Tulane said, wait a minute, we went toe-to-toe and beat USC last year in the bowl game. We're going to put this work on, and they never looked back. They scored 21 unanswered, win the thing 31-21. Man, Tulane, they're reminding us why they're on the radar.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Michael Pratt who played really well last year. He was the one that was leading them as they went toe-to-toe with SC. So he came back and showed why they're 5-1 and why they're a very good football team.
Yep, absolutely. But before that game happened on Friday night, there were so many games this week. I'm just so excited, man. There were the Thursday night games, and I'm glad you reminded me of this because we had to talk about it. First and foremost, SMU gets a W, beating ECU 31-10. And I got to tell you, man, Ayler's gone. Keaton Mitchell gone. I mean, ECU just, I understand
hard
it,
rebuild.
but they fell off, man. It hurts, man. It hurts to see.
Yep. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah,
but I mean, SMU's a good football team too, so let's give them credit on that. But ECU has definitely fallen off. Let's see how quickly they can rebuild this back up.
Yeah, SMU, look, they're led by Preston Stone. He had 3 TD passes in this game. Couple that with an interception return on defense by Jonathan Gill. And, I mean, look, SMU, like you said, they're a good team, but this was the win they needed to get. They're 4-2 now, and they can start making some strides. Again, 2 more wins, they can also get into bowl eligibility.
Yeah, and this is a team that, I mean, remember, they're looking to they're going into the ACC with you guys next year, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a team that's starting to fire on all cylinders and gain momentum heading into a new conference next year.
Right. Oh, buddy. Oh, we got some people in the comments. We're going to get to it real quick, recapping these games for the week. And probably until last night, probably one of the better games, if not the best game of this week. A game that means a lot to me and my fiance and her family. West Virginia almost gets it done, but it takes a miracle from their old coach in Houston to get it done. 41-39. Alex, the last minute or so of this game, man, I mean, it'll make anybody just on the edge of your seat, hold your breath. What a game. What a way to end a game.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at just when West Virginia scored with 12 seconds left on a 50-yard pass.
Yep.
That was just like, yep, we're done. Like, wrap it up. We'll see you next week. And then Houston goes down with their own, 49-yard pass. And it gets deflected. The receiver catches it in the end zone. Game over to win by 2 points. That is wild.
Come on, man.
Crazy finish. One of the crazier finishes we've seen in a while. Yeah. That's why we say keep an eye on college football even during the week, because you get games like this, phenomenal finish, and a very entertaining game. I mean, 41-39. You got a lot of scoring happening. That was a great game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And look, a lot of people didn't realize West Virginia coming into this game only had 1 loss. They were 4-1 coming into this. and weren't able to get it done. I mean, some heroics by Houston, and good for them to get that done on the last play, like you said. But hey, look, I've played DB, man. They put me in at DB. The one thing they say on any pass, much less a Hail Mary, bat it down. Bat it down. Hit it down. Don't tip it in the air because the wide receivers know the tip drill. Bat that thing down, man. Oh,
and try, if you can, to bat it straight down. Because if you remember, there was that Jacksonville and Houston game. Jacksonville-Houston game back in 09, 2010, where they batted it kind of forward. Like on a 45-degree angle, the guy catches it, rolls into the end zone. Bat that straight down. Don't let anyone touch that.
Exactly. Oh, man. Hey, right here, bro, the irony of the coach they fired because they gaslight everybody to say he wasn't good, beat the guy they said was a better coach. Absolutely. Dana Holgerson. Holgerson used to coach over at West Virginia. They let him go. He had a resurgence at Houston. If you watch Houston over the last couple of years, we can see who was the better coach. But I'm glad this game happened. And, hey, this was a fluke ending. But at the same time, if there's time on the clock, game's not over.
Absolutely.
So, all right, now back to Friday. Fresno, after getting a surprising loss last week, they get back on track, beating Utah State 37-32. Malik Sherrod had 129 rushing yards on 3 touchdowns in the victory. Man, hey, Fresno, they had the one hiccup against a good team, but they're still only one loss team.
Yeah, that's a very good football team. And I mean, if you could tell me that your running back is going to score a touchdown every 8 carries, that's wild. 3 touchdowns, 24 carries. And then Fife, the quarterback, almost 300 yards and another touchdown to go with that. It's a great performance by Fresno State.
Absolutely. And it's something they needed, man. We know a week ago after they took the L to Wyoming, albeit Wyoming a very solid team. We saw how they went toe-to-toe with Texas.
And that's their only loss, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. So it wasn't a bad loss. It was a hard-fought game by 2 really good teams the week before, but still, you have high hopes. You start undefeated. This is a game that you need to win, and it was closer. You saw the score was only a 5-point ball game, but glad they got it done, man. Glad they got it done. But look, we know why a lot of you have come, and we're going to bring this up. Misador mentioned it. The problem in Boulders, they can't handle the hype. They aren't mature enough. Give it a year. Woo!
He's not wrong. Did you hear Dion last night in the press conference?
No. What did he say?
He's starting to question how much those guys really love the game.
Ooh.
He's calling them out in press conferences now. So, I mean, you get up 29-0, you're feeling yourself a little too much. I mean, we've been saying this kind of stuff all year that they're kind of feeling themselves a little too much. I mean, for me, I know after the Arizona State game where you should whoop Arizona State, and Shadur's over there like flexing and celebrating in front of the ASU student section. I was like, do we really need to do that kind of stuff?
Looking at his watch and all this nonsense.
I was like, you would have thought after that Oregon loss, they would have been humbled a little bit. But it's that was a tough one.
It's almost like Washington in reverse. It's almost like the Washington Commanders in reverse with those 2 games. Because we had the USC game with Philly where we're like, oh, toe-to-toe, we could have came back and won that game. And then the complete drop-off the week after that with Chicago. But for Colorado, it was in reverse because they got crushed. And then all of a sudden, they get this game where they almost beat USC, what everybody's talking about. And then it's like they got gassed up again. Now all of a sudden, we're big and bad. And then because you and I think it's safe to say you and I both were like, this is one of the games that they're going to win. And in the first half, we were right.
Yeah, I threw the game on last night, fully expecting Colorado to win. And I was like, well, there's not much else to do. I'll throw the game on. I was like, it's not really worth watching. They'll win. It is what it is. And then it went south quick.
It's like the Falcons' blood is strong in the Sanders. Now, I will say something that we're going to dive into this one a little bit more because there's a lot of implications going forward in the Pac-12 season. But I will say something. I saw something on IG today that I thought was right. We're looking at wins and losses in the game, and we're looking at how these guys. Is he going to beat this team? Is he going to beat that team? Deion Sanders is coaching not one son, but two sons in major collegiate football, going toe-to-toe with most of these teams, some of the better talent in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take my hat off to that, man, because that's something that I hope we're looking at, and we're not overlooking because of all this stuff. You're either on the hype train or you're on the other guy saying, look at him, look what he did wrong. You know what I mean? Don't miss that, people.
Yeah, that's something that's extremely impressive. And I mean, he's not only coaching his sons, but he's loyal to guys he brings in. I mean, you look at Travis Hunter, got him to come to Jackson State, decommit from FSU, go to Jackson State, and then he's going to Colorado. I mean, I get he was the number one recruit in the country that year, but he could have just as easily said, like, I'm going.
Right. Very true.
And
Very true.
Brings him along with him. And, I mean, you look at Shedeur as well. He's more than likely staying after this season, in part because of Deion and Travis. So, it's a core group of guys that are all loyal to each other, which is good to see. They just got to figure out a lot of issues they still have.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But listen, and even still, the Buffaloes have tripled. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's well said. But look, I'd be remiss if I did not speak about the other side to this, because Daniels had himself a day balling out. But look, on 19 targets, Alec Ayomanor, how's his last name?
Ayomanor,
Ayomanor, 13 receptions, almost 300 receiving yards, 3 TDs, 22.6 average per reception. I mean, we just talked about Fafita. We just talked about these guys having these days that nobody's expecting and came out of the blue. And you see a game like this, and with this guy, hey, shout out to him, man. He gets big.
I gotta shout him out because he's from my neck of the woods. He's a Canadian boy. He's an Alberta boy. He's grew up about 5 hours from where I'm at. I didn't even know that, and then I was just like watching the game yesterday, and then they shot out Medicine Hat, Alberta, and I was like, oh man, he's like. So I went and looked it up. Yeah, he's an Alberta kid. So went off on arguably one of Stanford's brightest stages of the year, and had himself a day. Being covered late in the game by Travis Hunter and still catching the ball over top of him. I don't know if you saw that clip.
Yes.
Mock Travis Hunter. Yeah. Phenomenal game by Stanford. And let's see if this kind of gets the ball rolling for them.
Oh, yeah. And look, at the end of the day, on the other side to this, we know that Colorado was not up there like a Georgia or a Michigan as far as how people revered them. But but their hype was. With how much hype people had put on them. So what's happening, what we're seeing now is you're getting everybody's best shot as if you are the number one team in the land. You know what I mean? And you got all these other teams coming at you. You've seen what happened here. Bo Nix had himself a day. Caleb had himself a day. I mean, and some of these guys are expecting. But this guy right here, it's like, woo. Okay, all right. Give what you got.
I actually thought of this, Ben. That's good.
Yep.
That was perfect. My brother also thought it was the Michigan Ohio State comparison. Because, I mean, first off, you got the blue and yellow, the red and white.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our academic standards are so much higher than theirs are. They out-recruit us. So he was like, it's that to a T. I was like, yeah, okay, like I guess you're kind of right. But I love that Stanford, Colorado comp as well. That's good.
Oh, I can dig it. I can absolutely dig it. Now, look, I see Misador here.
Yeah.
Of course. It's they got an interesting one tomorrow.
Yeah, he's talking double as that Bucks fan, and then
come on now.